Welcome to One Take Wine. Here we are again, but what are we even doing here? I can tell you. They released this puppy yesterday at Systembolaget here in Sweden. It's the Raen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. 2022 Royal St. Robert Cuvée, a Pinot Noir from Sonoma Coast in California. First of all, I haven't had any California Pinot in a dog's age, so it kind of made sense to, you know what, let's give it a shot. And I got my bottles of Puligny Montrachet Premier Cru Le Demoiselles, which I've been chasing for some time at the tasting group that I get invited to every once in a while. We had a Jadot Demoiselles some months ago, maybe a year ago, I don't know. And I remember being floored by how beautiful it was, how light on its feet and floral and delicious and fantastic that was. It was quite an intense wine for such a light one. I've been on the hunt for these babies for a long time, and finally some came up at auction. Usually when I'm with other wine drinkers, the white wines tend to be younger and the red wines tend to be a little bit older. This time it's upside down world. I'm excited for it. Hope you are too. Hey, let's get at it. What do we got in the glass? Ooh, look at that. Look at that color. Like gold. And I love the smell coming off this. I just opened it a couple minutes ago. Last night I opened the 07 of this exact same wine. And what's that? Slightly cooked on the nose. We'll have to see in the tasting. Heartbroken here. I still drink a glass, actually, because it's a very, very powerful wine, as we'll get into when I start doing the note for this. The 08 Puligny Montrachet Premier Cru Le Demoiselles 2008 Domaine Amiot et Fils. Demoiselles is the first 57 rows of vines just north of Montrachet into Cayenne, just to that would be the east of Chevalier, Montrachet, and to the north of Montrachet itself. For a Premier Cru, you're not gonna get into a better geographical sort of position. The 07 was very, very pineapple on the fruit, and this is a little bit more, a little bit more lemon and maybe nectarine-ish, just a tad, maybe a tad pineapple, but not quite as spicy as a pineapple. Very deep and very vanilla and buttery. Whew, this is one of those buttery Chardonnays. The first thing that strikes me when I get this on the palate is the sheer power of it. It is a super, super powerful white wine. It's a super powerful Premier Cru. It's Grand Cru power, definitely. That is fabulous. That is fabulous. That's about as far as you can take a Premier Cru without going into Grand Cru. I would argue even the attack is very Grand Cru. It's very full and rich and powerful. Boom, hits the palate. Sort of drives it, has a lingering layer of minerality wafting in and out and filling up any crevice that the flavor sort of fades in. So that you're always getting a mouthful of shimmering, changing sort of effects. At the same time, it's very true to where it comes from. There isn't a bunch of craziness happening. To me, it feels more Chassagne than Puligny in a way. But just from the sheer class of it, much more Grand Cru on the Puligny side, but with the sort of the rounder, nuttier Chassagne, softer mouthfeel. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it does to me. Oh, wow. Great wine. Where it becomes apparent that this is not Montrachet, for instance. It does have the ripeness that Montrachet needs. It's just almost there. It's just in the second third, or maybe the third quarter, it loses some oomph. It loses its instead of expanding the way a great Montrachet would. Now, not all Montrachets do this, but a great Montrachet will just keep, it's like an atomic bomb cloud that's just continually growing and mushrooming outwards. This kind of gets to that mushroomy part and sort of falls in a little bit on itself. It's a suitcase bomb. There's a little vegetation in there too, some grass maybe. That keeps it down to earth and keeps it very fresh and clean. The finish is only medium long. It's not long. It kind of corresponds to that second, third, or third quarter, lack of oomph that I talked about. At the same time, this bottle has only been open, I'm talking 5 minutes. So I'm very excited to see where the afternoon takes this. I think this is a top-notch wine. It's got clear and everything but name, really. What do we got in the glass? 2022 Raen, Sonoma Coast, the Royal St. Robert Cuvée. Tempest, perhaps in a teacup, but I don't know. Let's figure it out. A lot of people talking about this wine. Everybody's talking about it. It's getting a lot of press. It's getting crazy scores. Quite complex flavors today, I will say, on this one. I opened it yesterday. Look at the color of that. It has very young purple hints to it. Kind of a deliciousness to this, to the fruit, almost rhubarb-y strawberry. Strawberry jam with some rhubarb. And then almost a smokiness in the background, which is like campfire smoke. Lovely. I really like it. Not a like it was in the presence of a fire intensity of smoke, but just the kind of that little hint of when it's kind of lingering in the air and it's there, and you kind of experience it on a cold fall day. Maybe there was a fire outside, something like that. I don't know. This has been open overnight, and it is way more impressive on the nose today than it was yesterday. As well on the palate. Yesterday on the nose and on the palate, I thought them a little simple. Today I'm definitely adding a complexity to this that it just didn't have. So if you are going to pop one of these, my advice is to carafe it for at least 4 hours overnight if you can. It's nice. There's a sugary cinnamon feel to it to go along with those fruit, and then a tannin, tobacco-y sort of dryness that lingers on at the finish. There's very clearly a green, almost parsley type of note to it. I think in 5 to 8 years, it'll be singing. It'll be a great restaurant wine, for instance. It'll be something that's delicious. It'll be softer, and I'll bet you some cherry notes come out of this. And then it'll feel like a big, warm, wet kiss. And it'll go with a lot of foods. Maybe not the fish. I'd probably stick with the fowl, like a guinea fowl or a chicken. Sure, a chicken. Is it my preferred style of Pinot Noir? No, I'll be honest there. Am I going to buy a lot more of it? No. It isn't an overt fruit bomb like California wines can be. I like the restraint in this, and it doesn't feel like it was held back. I feel like it was coaxed and allowed to be what it was going to be, but the winemakers didn't go seeking extraction. I'm not crazy about the finish. I think the finish is it lacks drive, and also, even the flavors don't really linger on and on and on and on. This got 98 points by Suckling. Suckling always gives high points, but 98 is still too high. It's probably a 95, 94 wine in its price class. This peters away a little too easily, other than the tannin. I think that'll flesh out a little bit with time, so I'm not too worried about it. But it isn't an impressive wine. It's just going to be a delicious mood setter on your way to something else. So I suppose, even though I started the video saying there was no theme, I think one emerged as I was kind of going along, and that would be pedigree. The Raen, I learned it's pronounced Rain by going to their website and reading. We pronounce it Rain. Is made by Robert Mondavi's grandkids, Carlo Andante. Mondavi, so I suppose there's some pedigree in that. What stood out for me a little bit was with the Raen, which I did enjoy. I mean, I tried to be positive. I just didn't agree with, I think 97 points in decanter, 98 points in, yeah. I mean, sometimes the people who are giving these points, they're overly generous. I felt that it lacked finish and that it was a lighter variant and a simpler variant when I compare it to this sort of monster burgundy. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. This wine has its place. It has some pedigree. It belongs in the echelon of very, very good wine. The difference being between these two is that I don't think that you can get the aha moment in wine from the Raen. Those who've had that aha experience with wine, you know what I'm talking about. The possibility exists for getting it with the Puligny, the Demoiselles. I mean, if I read the notes on the page of the producer, and if I read the notes of the professional tasters and things like that, you would think that it was the second coming of La Tâche, and I would disagree with that from a personal perspective. I'm just saying that's the difference between these two bottlings. And it's going to depend on what the conditions are. If you're out at a restaurant and you're just having dinner and you want to have a lovely wine that's going to accompany it, I'll bet you this Raen would rock your world. I think if you want to get into a discussion with some old school, new school, whatever, people who are really deeply interested in terroir and can sense that there's an undercurrent of something beyond just the taste of things in wine, then you're gonna end up in the Demoiselles camp. For me, I like them both for different things, but of course, I'm always chasing the dragon, and it's wines like this that I know that I might catch the dragon by the tail. At least I have a chance. Whereas here, I don't think I have a chance. Is that what you look for every time you open a bottle of wine? I suspect not. I'm always hoping that I accidentally stumble on it, but it doesn't have to be that when I'm just having dinner or I'm just having a glass of wine with friends, that kind of thing. Let me know your thoughts. Be interested to see if you're in one camp or the other camp, or if, like me, it just depends on the situation. All right, that's all I have for this time. Thanks a lot for joining. We'll see you again soon. And until then, hey, stay thirsty.